So Telemynd is a live and nationwide virtual behavioral health resource for active duty military members, their spouses, their kids 5 and up, and also veterans. Kids, 18 and up, teenagers can call on their own and say, hey, I would like an appointment. They verify insurance, and then less than 2 weeks, they have an appointment with somebody to be seen.
Welcome to Veteran Voices, SITREP, with your hosts, Tom and Chris Faust.
Welcome to Veteran Voices. I am Tom Faust, and I'm here with my son and co-host Chris. And today we have with us Corey Robichaud for an interview about his work with Telemynd. And so I guess to start us off here, Corey, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Telemynd?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I was a Navy veteran. I was a corpsman in the Navy for 7 years. I enlisted after I got my associate's degree and realized that college was a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And my dad was like, you know what? Why not travel the world for free and get the rest of your college done? I was like, you know what? That sounds good. I love free. So I went to boot camp in August of 2020 or 2016, and then went to Guam for my first duty station. And that really kind of started my mental health journey a little bit, being 7,000 miles away from home. So this is kind of my introduction and going into Telemynd and really helping people out in the future. Really got the awareness built of mental health awareness, what really goes on in people's heads, away from their family, away from their support systems. And after a couple more duty stations of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and Pensacola, Florida, I separated, and this was my calling. I reached out to them, applied for them. 3 months later, they reached back out to me. Totally forgot I applied for the job. And they were like, we have it narrowed down to you. And I gladly accepted the job and started helping veterans, military members, families, and kids as fast as I could.
So for those unfamiliar with Telemynd, can you tell us a little bit about the services it offers and just kind of what Telemynd is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Telemynd is a live and nationwide virtual behavioral health resource for active duty military members, their spouses, their kids 5 and up, and also veterans. They're contracted with TRICARE, the first mental health resource to contract with TriWest since they took over January 2025, as well as the VA Community Care Network. So what happens is they have these virtual mental health or behavioral health meetings, and we have 70 modalities where, so it's something not technically small, but something like ADHD, eating disorder, insomnia, all the way up to passive suicidality. We do marriage counseling, anything that you can think of other than autism, because that's more of like a hands-on modality. But, still 70 virtual is crazy. And I think this really picked up in COVID, where people couldn't go out and see their therapist because of the big COVID scare in 2019. So a lot of people started going to virtual, like, oh, I can actually build a human connection virtually through a computer. Just as you guys are talking with me right now, we're all three human beings. So people started seeing that and accepting it more and started to get therapy for free, TRICARE Prime, or, their VA benefits, unlimited from the comfort of their own home, from their car, or wherever they can get Wi-Fi or a signal, as long as they're in the state that the provider is licensed in. They can do it on their own time. They don't have to waste gas money. They don't have to worry about babysitters. They don't have to worry about school or sports schedules. They do it on their own time and really help themselves so they can be there for their families.
Okay, so kind of what sets Telemynd apart from other, telehealth programs out there, especially in terms of supporting the military community?
Yeah, great question. So there are a couple out there for sure, and I heard about them before I heard of Telemynd. So I asked the same question during my interview process: what separates you guys? Because this is not something to play with. These are people's lives and their loved ones' lives that we're dealing with. And one, they don't need a referral for spouses and kids to be seen. So that spouse or that kid 5 and up, and obviously the mom can call for the younger kids, but kids, 18 and up, teenagers can call on their own and say, hey, I would like an appointment. They verify insurance, and then less than 2 weeks, they have an appointment with somebody to be seen, which is great access to care. That's the second bullet point is when I was a mental health patient, as an active duty service member, I would word suicide, and I think my first appointment was 31 days away. And I'm like, I'm 7,000 miles away from my family. My sister just attempted suicide 2 weeks ago. I don't know what kind of headspace I'm in right now. Tears are flowing down my face. I was freaking out. I go to mental health, took the courage to even go to mental health because that's such a huge stigma in the military is seeing somebody on the 8th floor. Like, oh, Corey's on the 8th floor. He must be going to go see the psychiatrist. So built up enough courage and like, okay, we'll see you next month. I'm like, what am I going to do in an 8x8 room for a month with these thoughts? So this is where we come in like, hey, we can see you in less than 2 weeks. If you qualify for our passive suicidality program, you can be seen in less than 3 days. So that's still someone to talk to in a short amount of time. And then we also like to I would tell people as a previous member to use us as a bridge. Hey, if you're soul set on using us or seeing somebody in person, the access to care in Seattle is 3 months away out in town. You can see us 8 times before you get to that point. Then you can still use that. That's your benefit of having TRICARE. You can have another referral and go see that person. But 97% of them usually stay with us after the first appointment. So they see that they can build that relationship, like I said before, virtually, and that's really what stands out. And then on the active duty side, being deployable is 100% the military's focus. Like if you're 100% unit ready, that's all we care about. And that's what we care about too. So what we do is we have an automated system where all of us, all 175 of us, other than the 300 or 400, however many providers we have, it's a lot now, we solely focus on the admin duty so that they can strictly focus on the patient. They don't have to do anything else but focus on the patient. So this is where we have a CLR, clear and legible reporting system, where once the provider's done, the notes are automatically sent back to the PCM of the military base, and so that they are continuously providing 100% unit readiness. And that, from what I hear in the 9 states that I cover, is a huge problem with other virtual mental health resources in the military, is that they're waiting months to get notes back for an active duty service member.
So how can veterans or service members, active duty, get started with Telemynd? What is there a process they need to go through? Do they just call somebody?
Yeah, so active duty service members and veterans, they have one more step because they were in the military. They have to maintain that unit readiness, stuff like that. And so veterans and if they're going to the VA, and active duty members have to go through their PCM just to get a referral. Once the referral comes in, we call them. Hey, what do you like? Do you want an African American male that's religious, that lives in this state, that specializes in this? They can smart match. They can fill their list 100 items long. Obviously, the longer that list, the probably closer to that 2 weeks to be seen. But if they're like, I just want to talk to somebody right now, I don't care if it's man, woman, anything. I just want to talk to somebody right now. So then you're getting closer to that 5 to 7 days to be seen. So yeah, just a referral for active duty members and veterans. And again, spouses and kids do not need a referral to be seen. They just call the number, or they go to telemynd@care.com.
Once the service member has their referral, then the spouse can call.
Yes. So the spouse has nothing to do with the service member. If they're on the service member's TRICARE Prime or TRICARE plan, they're their own entity. They can go and just call us right now and get seen. As long as the active duty service member is not being seen for like ADHD or PTSD or something like that, that's when they need to be involved. But if you're doing couples counseling, for instance, and you want to be seen sooner, the spouse can actually go and do no referral, and the husband can just come in without needing the referral. We only need one of them. So that's how you can kind of beat the system a little bit right there and be seen a lot sooner for those kind of things.
So what are some common barriers that veterans face when seeking mental health care? How does Telemynd help them overcome those?
Good question. So the biggest barrier that I've seen and that Telemynd is really trying to help out is, one, just awareness of the resource in general. Two is, I think, from my personal experience, I think the VA is the hardest thing to get a hold of in the world. And so if the VA is hard to get a hold of, during the small time that you're finally talking to them, they don't mention these resources. They mention like one here, and like we have the access to care of 28 days. When, I'm like, hey, we have an MPI number. We have, a contract with the VA. We just need to get our name out there. And hell, I'm constantly talking to VAs. I'm like, I know you have a backlog. I know you have all this, like, these patients backed up out in town and stuff like that. I'm like, I can take all of them right now, because we hire our doctors on demand. We have 365 therapists in waiting to be credentialed, ready to go, so that we can take the bulk of all these patients in bulk like we used to. So it's just awareness at this point, and that's where Telemynd can really help out. To answer your question, is there is a backlog in the VA, nationwide, and we can take the brunt of them and be seen in like pretty soon.
Mm.
So I know there's a something called My Care Intensive Support Program. Can you tell us more about that and how it benefits veterans dealing with severe mental health challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So Intensive Support Program is a targeted behavioral health program, really focused on passive suicidality. Again, this is not active suicidality. If we were on a phone call with somebody with active suicidality or active tendencies, we have clinical, policies in place where we stay on the phone with them. We'll call emergency care for them. We'll make sure that they're just not left in the dark. But again, if they're passive, they qualify for it and they're not just there, we can see it like teetering that red line. We'll bring them into this program where they see a therapist twice a week and a psychiatric prescriber every other week for 8 to 12 weeks straight. And then after that program's done, we do a warm handoff with either a therapist of ours or a therapist out in town. And like, hey, like, this is what's happening. We do the warm handoff, everything, to make sure that they're still getting continuous care, even if it's not with us, to make sure that that veteran or that member is still continuously getting the care that they deserve and need to be, excel in the life to come.
Corey, what inspired you to become involved with veteran advocacy and mental health support?
Yeah, so I really got in touch with the veteran advocacy part of it was when I moved to Seattle and realized how many homeless veterans there actually were. I'm from Arkansas. Homelessness in the town that I was in wasn't a big deal. Like, everybody's running around with blue jean shorts, their shirts off, riding four-wheelers, hunting, and everything. And so mental health awareness wasn't huge where I was from. Like, I knew that suicide was a thing, but it was not per se relevant to me because I never was affected by it. No one that I knew was going through anything. I was 16 years old. How was I supposed to know that they were going through something? And so after, again, when I moved to Guam, my sister attempted suicide. I thought about the word suicide. I didn't have the tools to really, comprehend all this stuff and how I could deal with it. And then taking that from Pensacola to move here, I'm like seeing all these American flags posted. I'm like, why is there? I heard about homeless, veterans in the world, but I didn't know it was this bad. Like, what can I do? And so then I go to events where I met Mr. Tom here, at the Veteran Resource Fairs in Tacoma Dome, and just realized that hearing all their stories really just touched my heart, honestly. And I'm not just saying that as an advocate for Telemynd. I'm saying that as an advocate for, being a human being in this world and actually serving in the military, and, hearing everybody else's story, like, it makes me want to change our own policies to help them more. Because right now we're not accepting Medicaid. And that's my biggest push as an individual at Telemynd is, what can I do to make sure that we can get Medicaid? Because, yeah, we can help a lot of veterans. We can help millions of veterans, but there's still millions more that we can help. What can I do to do that? And so that's my passion right now, is really getting Medicaid and helping those people. No matter how old you are, you still need to talk to somebody, whether you think you need to or not. It's just nice to talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's just my biggest advocacy for veterans is, just moving out here and hearing their stories, really growing to build that relationship on the veteran aspect of it. Because I came from active duty, I knew more about active duty side of life than I did, the veteran side of life. I didn't go to war, I didn't serve on a boat or a ship, so I felt like I was just like the lower level veteran, as you say, is, all these people actually went to war. All these people saw a lot of things. I'm like, if I need help with just staying in a hospital all day for 7 years, imagine what they went through. Imagine their thought process. Imagine the help that they truly need. And they just don't know about resources like us. And I would love to give them a book of resources. I don't care if they use us. I'm like, hey, you have this, you have this, you have, Operation Military Family for when you come out of the military and you need that job or something like that. So I'm all big on just advocacy for resources in general.
So as a military community manager, what does your day-to-day look like? How do you engage with the veterans and their families?
Yeah, absolutely. So my number one process is, when I first started, was to get with the primary care providers at all the military treatment facilities. They're the ones that are sending referrals for the active duty members. They're the ones that are really going to set the tone from the high level down. So my job is to, travel to these military bases. So I have 9 states that range from North Dakota, South Dakota, all the way across the top to Oregon and Washington and Hawaii and Alaska. So a lot of traveling at the beginning for sure. And just a lot of phone calls and emails to really build the relationship, because you don't want to step on people's territories and stuff like that. Like, you don't want to, in the mindset of TRICARE, because you can't just like go around TRICARE, the liaisons, and be like, let me talk to the PCMs. You have to like basically ask permission. So build that relationship with TRICARE, then build the relationship with the military training facilities. And then I started getting on the community a little bit more, joining the vet tribe here in the Northwest, trying to go to these, coffee dates or breweries where you can like mingle with the veterans a little bit, joining these, veteran resource fairs that we have, going to like Coast Guard family days out off base, and joining like Easter egg hunts, Winterfest, Halloween trunk or treats on base, like really just mingling with the families at a large capacity at once, 4 to 6,000 people at one time. That's been my attack on things, to really get in with the community more. Because then, like you guys know, like you go somewhere, you meet one person, they introduce you to 3 people, so you're really spider web networking unintentionally, and then you're getting invited to all these off base events, and whether they're 10 or 15 people, that's still 15 people that didn't know about you guys that can get help. So that's kind of like how I get in with the veteran and family community for sure.
Nice. That's really cool. So kind of like a little further out, where do you see Telemynd's role in the future of mental health care for veterans? Like, where do you see it like kind of placing itself, I guess? Yeah.
So in the future, hopefully the near future. So I actually got to meet with some suicide prevention coordinators of the entire VA, who's based out of Washington. They're on the Hill. So really spreading the awareness across all VA, being in their directory, so that when they click the mental health tab on the VA website or that specific VA, Telemynd pops up right there. And then, like I said before, really just, pursuing that Medicaid aspect of it, like, hey, we're open to all veterans now, no matter your age and no matter what insurance company you have, especially if you have TRICARE for life. Welcome to us and let us help you. That's the long-term future for Telemynd with the VA for sure. But just raising that up, this job that I have has only been a year. So I've only been in this job for a year. This position has only been available for a year. And the referrals in just my region alone has increased 60% year over year. So we help 60% more active duty members, spouses, and veterans. And this is just a start of it. And I can't imagine the numbers next year, and like really, have another year under my belt of really raising awareness, being in person, really connecting with these people. Because, there's a lot of this honestly separates us as well. Back to your earlier question, I've not seen a single other resource in all of my 9 states at any event that I've been to. And this is something that is said from other primary care providers at military training facilities. They're like, you're the only person that I've seen from any provider, from any company that's reached out to us when it comes from the mental health side. So that's just where the human connection is. We're all human. We all have jobs. We all have to pay our bills, and this is how I pay my bills. But I want you to know that there's a human on the other side of that phone or that laptop that's really trying to help people.
So if a veteran is hesitant to seek mental health care, because that's, I think, a pretty common situation, what kind of advice would you give to a veteran who knows they need to talk to somebody but doesn't really know how to go about doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really hard because I know people that are still battling that decision to this day, and I can give the best advice in the world, I can give the worst advice in the world, and it's still, at the end of the day, their wholeheartedly decision. But if there's a veteran in front of me, this is the perfect opportunity to test that out. No one's going to know. No one's going to, condemn you or judge you for talking to somebody when they don't even know that you're talking to somebody. This is where Telemynd can step in. And I give my personal call out there. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't give any advice whatsoever if they call me. But I put my number out there, like, hey, I can get you connected with somebody to talk to for sure, and no one's ever going to have to know, because once I open the gates up in my time, like I said, it took me 23 years to even talk to somebody. I can't imagine if you're 75 or 60 trying to talk to somebody, because that stigma of that men generation back then, like, I got it. I'm the protector of my household. No, I can push through it, but it's a lot harder than people think it is. So using this platform, like I said, as a bridge, you don't have to, you can use this one time and then go. That's fine. You talk to somebody, you made that extra step, but you'll find yourself when you make that next step, that next step is a lot easier to make going forward. Like, hey, that wasn't so bad. I dipped my toe in the water. It felt good to get this one thing off my chest. Imagine if I talked about the other 80 things, how I would feel the next time. And it's not a one and done thing. It's not an instant gratification. I'm sorry. It was an instant gratification to the point that I felt gratified that I was going to continue to do it, but I wasn't cured. And it's not an instant curable thing. So I just tell them, just make that first step. They don't have to use Telemynd, but use somebody like Telemynd. Use a virtual resource to really make that first step, so you're not being judged, you're not being looked down on, or whatever the stigma is in your location, and worry about yourself. Worry about you for once. Be selfish in your life for once to really care about you. Because the whole airplane analogy, put the mask on yourself first before you take care of others. This really applies in the mental health aspect of things. Like, if you're happy, you're taken care of, you can take care of your family and yourself way better than you could think that you are right now.
Yeah, I understand how that could be. If you're not in a place to be able to deal with things yourself, how can you possibly help anybody else?
Absolutely.
But kind of on the flip side of that too, since we not only hope that, veterans themselves, but we also hope that maybe families of veterans come across our podcast and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you kind of, suggest? And obviously it's, your opinion, or, maybe something that Telemynd might have, thoughts about, but how can families of veterans play a role in encouraging their loved ones to, prioritize their mental health? Because, military guys, we can be stubborn about a lot of things, and we might not have the, want to go, even though we might need it.
Mm-hmm.
But the families might be like, hey, I'm noticing all of these things that are troubling you. What kind of, roles can the families play to help, maybe give the nudge that's required without, I guess, threatening, either the veteran or whoever has the issue.
That is a tough one, because me personally thinking how if I could get my papaw to talk to somebody is scarily for me. Like, I think if I mentioned to him, I feel like I would leave with a whelp on my butt again, and I'm like 30 years old, so I was like, no. I would just tell them to be patient, but, walk that line of adamant and patience, because, again, you don't want to come off as threatening. You don't want to come off as pushy, because that honestly just pushes them away a little bit further. It's hard. It really is hard from the family standpoint, and I think, and that's why military spouses, I think, have it harder than active duty members sometimes because they're staying home with the bills and stuff like that. So for them to push, I'm like, how can they push somebody when they're probably feeling the same pain from the effects of that individual being where they are? Like, it is taking a toll on them as well. So they just have to walk that fine line of being super loving and caring, and also being patient and not pushy. Mention it to him like, hey, like, I will do whatever it takes. This is the phone. This is the number. I'm going to lay it right here, and I'm going to go to the store. If you call, you call. If you don't, you don't. And that's okay. But know that we, as your family, your wife, your spouse, your son, your daughter, are here for you, and we're not going anywhere. So that's just my initial thought process and my opinion on that, just from my personal experience of how I would probably handle it with, for instance, my grandfather in Arkansas, for sure.
So as we start to wrap things up here, what is one thing that you kind of wish that every veteran knew about mental health care and Telemynd services in particular?
I just wish if I could speak to every veteran in the world, every military affiliated person in the world, there are other resources that you don't know about. And we are so sorry that they're not plastered on every billboard or commercial or anything like that, but there are resources out there that truly care about you as an individual. Telemynd is, such a small company right now. They started 5 years ago. We wish that we were, way up there like United Healthcare or something like that, so that worldwide known. But we're strictly stuck to the 50 states. We're building. But being a small company, we know your name. We know your family's name. We genuinely care about the connection that we have with you, and we are here to help with access to care. We are here to help with all your problems. If you have TRICARE Select and you have a copay, we're here to help you pay that off. We don't ask for your credit card up front. We don't ask for your credit card at the beginning, saying like, hey, can we get a card number just in case you don't show up? There's a fee. No, there's not. We care about you. We know that financial stresses are a huge thing, so why will we do that? And if you need a payment plan, we'll give you a payment plan. $25 copay for 4 sessions, that's already $100. And then we'll help you out because we care about your mental well-being and your family before anybody else. So just know that there are resources out there. Telemynd's one of many, but we do separate ourselves based on we are all military connected. We all have a military spouse or an active duty or reservist or veteran or reservist across our entire 175 man team right now. So we all know what you're going through. We can all relate to you, and we can all help you in any way that we can.
Good. And how can listeners learn more about Telemynd or get in touch if they want to explore the services?
Yeah, so Telemynd.com is, pretty simple. We call it Telemynd with a Y, so MYND instead of MIND. It's probably the most user-friendly website that I've ever seen. You just go to Telemynd.com, big bubbles, big letters, blue colors, and learn about what we do, what we can provide, how to get in touch with us. So simple. And be seen in less than 2 weeks just from Googling us. And then, my number and my name is Corey Robichaud. And you can find me on the website, and then my cell phone's on there. If you need help, please call me day or night. I'm always here for anybody that needs help across any state. I'll get you in touch with somebody instantly even if you're not in my region. I'll make sure that you get help.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for being here with us, and there's a lot of good information, and we will share this. We'll share links to everything as well. I just appreciate you joining us here today.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you guys more. Just having another platform to express awareness is, I'm extremely grateful for it. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, all right. Thanks. We do what we can to help get the word out that there are things out there for people. Yeah. Just multiple angles they can explore to try and find information.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, anyways, for everyone paying, who's tuned in, found us on YouTube, watching, listening, whatever they are. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to give this a look, give it a listen, and as always, like, subscribe, share the news, pass the information along to somebody who you think might need it, or a family that might know somebody. Just get the word out there. That's definitely what we're here for. But we appreciate everybody who tunes in and watches and listens.
Absolutely.
That we will see you the next time.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.